This mechanism is called the internal stand, and unlike the V-fold, which works on a portrait format, this one works on a landscape format. So first thing you need to do with your A4 piece of card is fold it ever so carefully in half. Very important that you fold this accurately because you will be marked on how well you manage to do all your fold lines, your measuring and your cut lines. Push down nice and hard on the seam so you get a really nice fold and your card is now folded in half. We're going to place the folded edge at the top away from us, and this is the edge we're going to measure on. The internal stand we're going to do today is going to have 3 internal stands within the mechanism. Before we can start measuring our internal stands, we need to find the halfway point along the folded edge. So place your ruler up along the folded edge. You can see it measures 21 centimetres, so therefore that is 10.5 centimetres for the halfway point. So you're going to mark a marker at the 10.5 centimetre point. We're now going to measure 3 centimetres either side of that marker. So we're going to go 3 centimetres to the left, 3 centimetres to the right. So what we have got now is 3 markers along the top. We need to now measure how far the left-hand side one comes from the edge of the card. So you can see that marker comes 7.5 centimetres from the left-hand side edge of the card. I'm going to bring my ruler down ever so slightly and measure 7.5 from the left-hand side edge and do a marker. I'm then going to keep my ruler where it is, and I'm then going to make another marker at 3 centimetres along, which is 8, 9, 10.5 centimetres, and then again 11, 12, 13.5 centimetres. I'm now going to use my ruler. I'm going to match the first set of dashes up ever so carefully, and I am going to draw a line that is 7 centimetres in length. I'm not going to do it on the middle set. On the second set on the right hand side, again I'm going to match my ruler up to the 2, draw a line that is 7 centimetres in length. So I've got 2 lines that are drawn at 7 centimetres, and then I'm going to match those 2 lines together, and hopefully if you've measured accurately they should be 6 centimetres apart. And I'm going to draw a line at the bottom so I've got a rectangle in the middle. We're now going to draw 2 rectangles exactly the same either side of this middle one. So we're going to start with the left hand side. We are going to measure 1.5 centimetres in from the left hand side of the card, do a dash, and we're then going to measure 1.5 centimetres to the left of the line we've drawn on this side. So this first line of this rectangle we've already drawn, we're going to measure 1.5 centimetres to the left. So it's obviously on the 7.5 centimetre marker, so I'm going to go back to 6 centimetres. So I've got 2 markers. I'm then going to do the same thing, bring my ruler down, do the same markers, so 1.5 in from the left hand side of the page, and then 1.5 centimetres in from the left hand side of the line we've already drawn. Similar to what we've just done, we're going to match those 2 lines together. However, this time we're not going to come down 7 centimetres, we're going to come down 5 centimetres. So I'm going to do 5 centimetres down for those 2 lines, 5 centimetres down for these 2 lines, and then match them up together. And if you've measured accurately, they should be 4.5 centimetres apart. So there we've got 2 rectangles now drawn, one that was 7 centimetres, one that's 4.5. Okay, now we're going to repeat what we've just done on the left hand side on the right. So we're going to measure 1.5 centimetres in from both sides, bring our ruler down, do exactly the same thing, 1.5 centimetres in from both sides, so that would be on your 1.5 centimetre mark and your 6 centimetre mark. We're going to match our rulers on those 2 points. This time we are only going to come down 3 centimetres, so we're going to do 3 centimetres down. Obviously this won't meet the second set of dash lines if you did them quite far down, but that doesn't matter, it just gives you the placement for where you need to put your ruler. So we have 2 lines coming down, and again we now take our ruler, match the 2 together, which again, if you've drawn accurately and measured properly, it should be 4.5 centimetres. So now what we have is we have our 3 internal stands drawn on at 3 different lengths. The next stage is to take your scissors and keeping the card folded together, so obviously we've got the card folded in half, we want to keep the folded edge together, and you're going to cut the lines going away from the folded edge, not the horizontal lines. So we're just going to ever so carefully and accurately cut the lines going back. You need to make sure that both lines for each rectangle are the same length when you cut them. If one is cut longer than the other, then your internal stand will not fold accurately and it won't work. So keeping the card folded in half at all times while you're cutting, very accurately, cut nice and straight along your lines to the mark that you've done, making sure both cut lines are the same length, otherwise your internal stand won't be accurate. Mind your fingers obviously when you're cutting. Okay, so what you should now have is each of these pieces have been cut on each side of the lines. The next stage is to now fold these up on these markers. However, if you just try and fold as they are like this, you can't guarantee you're going to get a straight edge. So what we do is we take our ruler, place your ruler nice and accurately on the straight line, and then you're going to bring your piece up, fold it over onto the ruler, press down on the edge. You can then remove your ruler, keeping the internal stand folded as it was, and push down really, really hard so you get a really good crease in the card. You're going to repeat that step for the other 2. So again, placing the ruler right up to the edge, keeping the ruler there, fold it over and press down. Remove your ruler and then continue to push down nice and hard on the folded edge. And then finally the same for the last one. Bring it up over your ruler, remove the ruler, fold the edge down so that you have 3 of your internal stands with folds. Final stage to turn this into the internal stands is the fact that we now need to open this card up. So you're going to fold these back down so they're nice and flat. You're going to ever so carefully open your card. Do it carefully so you don't rip the internal stands. And what we now need to do is we need to poke these through in the opposite direction. So the easiest way to do is fold your card over this way so that you've got the folded edge facing you. With your thumb or your finger, each one carefully, push the internal stand through in the opposite direction so that you're refolding this line here in the opposite direction so that it should then fold inwards. Keep using the same fold lines, you're not making any new, so that you then have your internal stand folded inside. Repeat that for the other 2. So again, poke the internal stand inside, refold the line, and then the last one. If you've folded your lines nice and crisply, they should just fold in the opposite direction very easy. So that what you have when your card is folded down in half, you've now got these sections that look like they've been removed, but what they are inside the card as an internal stand. So what happens is you can then stick whatever you want onto these internal stands and it will create an effect of it being 3D and popping up. And that is your internal stand done. Well done.